I don't really care about 500 reviews a business got 2 years ago. What I care about is the reviews that they're getting this month, this week, how they're treating their customers right now.
Hey guys, welcome to Google Business Buzz, where small businesses learn how to rank higher, get more calls, and grow faster. I'm Chris.
And I'm Henry. And today what we're going to talk about is something really, really shaky. It's the economy. The gas prices are higher than ever. Things are expensive. And now might feel like the time that you need to cut in your marketing and advertising. But we're here to tell you that is incorrect.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a long time. It seems when people are having financial hardships, the marketing budget's one of the first things to go. But if you're being a smart business person, what you'll notice is if all of your competitors have that same mindset and marketing's the first thing to go for them, then it's going to be the opposite of inflation. The opportunities are going to get cheaper with less advertisers. Your clicks are going to get cheaper. Your leads are going to get cheaper. So for those staying the course and those who have run their business appropriately, you're going to be able to be aggressive and capitalize during this time period when other people may be pulling back and really set your business up for the future. So I think we want to kind of talk about some strategies and some ideas here and kind of how to handle a little bit of an economic downturn digitally.
And we hear it here at OMG all the time. Our clients are telling us that times are tough and that their call volume is down. We see it in the Facebook groups, right, with the different industries that we follow. And, calls are drying up in some places. Many people are getting more and more quotes. We're seeing even a lot of spam calls going through, through the marketing funnel. And that's when people get desperate, right? People don't want to start, dealing with low opportunities, bad leads. And they think that the best course of action is to really cut that marketing budget. Now, as Chris said, as you mentioned, that is the knee-jerk reaction for most business owners. And we're here to tell you that if you think that's the right way to go about it, it's really, scared money doesn't make any money. You have to be willing to spend, especially in an economic downturn. People are definitely going to start, shopping around, but it's a time for you as a business owner to think about what differentiates your business from the rest. Like, why are you going to close that call that just told you he wants a quote or she wants a quote for an HVAC, job? But that once you have them on the call, that's your opportunity to close. What are you going to do to schedule that quote per se? You're going to give them a really good incentive. You're going to think about your equipment, what kind of new equipment you have. You're going to show off your best certifications. And also you might want to think about, your price and the price for that's around the market. Right now, we know that people are struggling. And this is when you really need to look inwards into your company. What do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, I think that, look, stopping marketing is never going to be the right answer. People still need goods and services. If your car breaks down, you're not just going to leave it in the middle of the road. And if your toilet starts leaking, you're not just going to let your house flood. You're going to look for that tow truck company. You're going to look for a plumber, and you're going to shop maybe a little bit differently than you normally would. Maybe you're going to be a little bit more price conscious, but the people that are showing up prominently on Google are still going to be your best options. And those are the guys that are continuing to keep their their foot on the gas. And when your competitor stops running their ads, they're kind of handing those opportunities over to you. They're actually making things cheaper for you because when there's less advertisers, the cost per click's going to go down, and it's making things a little bit easier for you. So, for those that want to be aggressive and want to be pragmatic. And, I know it's scary when, things are changing economically and things get a little tighter, but making a knee jerk, decision, is never going to be, the right answer. And you know what? In addition to things getting potentially cheaper, I mean, look, Google seems to be pushing LSA more than ever, like local service ads, and the AI overview, and just, right in your face. And then, you shared an article with me also where, I guess Facebook had more advertising spend than Google, meaning, I think Google's going to want to make ads potentially perform better. They're going to want to make things sweeter, maybe give more incentives to small business owners. So this is probably as good a time as any to be advertising on Google. Get it while the getting's good, while the clicks are cheaper, while LSA is so prominent, and while Google may be feeling some pressure from Meta.
No, that's such a good point. I always have this back and forth. Sometimes I think Google just is in it for the money, but a lot of times I think Google really is in it for the user experience, and that's why people come back to Google, including business owners, right? Business owners know that they get the bang for their buck when they spend on Google ads or on local service ads, especially on local service ads. I spoke with a roofer this week, and he was ecstatic about his local service ads because he knows exactly how much money he's making from each job that comes through LSA. And that is, something that he's not willing to stop at all, not even in this economic downturn. Roofing is something that people are going to need, just like plumbing, just like if your car is messed up and you need to take it off the road with a tow truck. You're going to need a roofer if you have a leak. And we're coming into, like here in Florida, we're coming into a rainy season for the next 2 weeks that is going to absolutely cause, an increase in phone calls and search queries for different searches around roofing and things like that. So now is definitely not the time to stop. You have to continue. You have to stay the course. While things are, looking low.
In a way, I mean, the service industries, the real intent-based services are, I mean, pretty recession-proof. I said it earlier. I mean, look, you might not be shopping to get your kitchen redone right now while, there's high inflation and gas is expensive, but you're not going to let your house flood. You're not going to have a hole in your roof when hurricane season's right around the corner. You got to, that stuff needs to get taken care of. So those intent-based searches are, the search volume is going to remain high. And, for those that are continuing to advertise, they're going to be able to capitalize on that. And for those who are going to be doing paid advertising, they're going to be able to capitalize on that at a lower price than normal now that people are pulling back. We got to remember Google is an auction in a way. It's an auction-based system. And, if with less people bidding, you're just going to get leads for cheaper. So, my recommendation to anybody that's advertising is, keep doing it and do more right now. You're going to be able to get opportunities for a lower cost than you would have in any recent any recent past that I could think of.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. And then on the organic side as well, there's a lot of debate on whether or not you want to, like, if you hit number one on a certain keyword or key phrase, do you want to move to a different keyword and key phrase? And I always say no. You want to continue optimizing for your best and more profitable keywords organically. And if you stop, your competitor is going to overtake you. The competitor that isn't stopping their optimization on their GBPs, their optimization on their websites, adding new reviews, getting new reviews to their GBPs, they're going to lose out. Organics doesn't stop. This is a long-term game. You can, take advantage of the ads, whenever you want, turn it on and off like a light switch. But if you stop doing organics, any gains you might have made in 6 months, you could lose in 6 weeks, just like working out.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing, about your competitors. If you're not taking this advice and you are scaling back, one of your competitors who is either listening to us or has the bright idea themselves, they're not going to scale back, and they're going to take the opportunities, and they're going to be able to capitalize and grow. You know, Look, there's definitely tactics that you can use to kind of, because things are tight right now. Maybe if you're somebody that invests a lot in PPC, maybe you want to look into, shifting some of your ad dollars into local service ads if they apply to your whatever industry you're in, so that that you're paying, more for, maybe less brand awareness stuff, less website traffic, more direct leads. And if you're somebody that's really committed to PPC, then maybe you go a little bit longer tail on your keywords so that, if you're not just kind of covering for terms like plumber or dentist, which are, can be incredibly expensive depending on your market. If you have those longer tail keywords, they're probably going to be cheaper. And it's going to be a way for you to continue to advertise, continue to get opportunities while, being mindful of, what your financial situation is.
100%. 100%. And then going back to like the reviews, once you do, get these calls and complete these jobs as a business owner, you have to ask for reviews. Reviews are being read by people, by users that are potentially going to use your service, and also by AI. AI overview, AI mode, Chat GPT, Claude, they all gather reviews because those are real human experiences. User generated content for them, for the AIs, is like gold. Because they're not human, but they like that human content so that they can learn from it and then give their users the best possible response. So,
Yeah. And in
go
terms
ahead.
of reviews, I mean, you mentioned something to me this week about, how important, the recency of reviews are versus just pure volume. And let's be real. The plumbing company at 21,000 reviews, they're not pulling back on their advertising in a recession. But, maybe the guy who has been a thorn in your side, who has a couple hundred reviews, maybe if he's pulling back and he's not being as aggressive anymore, well, if you have 30 and he has a couple hundred, but you're getting a lot more recent reviews, then correct me if I'm wrong, but that's holding more weight these days, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Google just updated their search algorithm over the weekend, and since Google I/O, right? We're just about finishing May here, 2026, and they said that they are now using Gemini 3.5 Flash on every search, right? So the algorithm just got that boost, and it's an AI boost that's pulling in information from everywhere. Um, AI, the way that it works, right? When someone asks a query, it creates subqueries, right? It expands its way around your one query so that it can gather more information about what you want and then deliver it to you. Um, and with reviews in particular, the only thing that they see is recency and reviews. Like I mentioned to you earlier, right? I don't really care about 500 reviews a business got 2 years ago. What I care about is the reviews that they're getting this month, this week. How they're treating their customers right now so that I can be treated that way or that I can avoid this business.
And I'm going to kind of pose a question, not where you could tell this is not a pre-rehearsed podcast, but I was on vacation this past Memorial Day weekend in Asheville, North Carolina, and I was on Yelp, which isn't Google, but I was on Yelp and I was trying to, I was at one of those places that the menu changes seasonally. And so I was looking at pictures of the food and stuff, sorting by most recent pictures. And the most recent picture was 5 months ago. So my question that I'm posing to you, Henry, is what about recency of other content on your Google business profile and just addition? Obviously, Google's says that recent reviews are important, but what about, the other content, whether it's post or adding photos and images?
No, 100%. That also it takes it a long way, right? They might not affect the algorithm and might not, boost your ranking, but these are conversion factors, right? Like you said, you went in and you were checking the pictures and you saw a picture from 5 months ago. Did you actually go to that place and eat there?
Yeah, it was great.
Awesome. Great. I'm glad you had a good experience, but like I would have hesitated if I didn't know like that they were actually doing good work. But it's funny you mentioned reviews. I mean, photos on GBP. They brought back the count, the view counts. So they used to show them, then they took them away. Now they brought them back. Now we're seeing how many views a particular photo on the GBP gets, how many views a video gets. And you can upload videos to GBP as a photo, like to the gallery. And it helps you stand out, right? When you're scrolling in that search and you're scrolling through images, you see an image that starts moving, that stands out, right? So even the posts also help customers interact with a business. If I see a business that hasn't had a post in a few months, and Google's tells you that Google Business Profile tells you this business hasn't posted in a couple of months, that looks bad to me, right? I feel like that business isn't taking care of its customers. It's not even taking care of itself, so in my mind, yes, you got to be recent with photos. You got to be recent with posts. Your hours of operation have to be up to date. And if you didn't know, like Google by default on the GBP has it so that your GBP can accept phone calls from AI that is trying to verify your business information. So you can get a call from Google AI asking about your business information, and if you don't answer, then you might not get that updated, or it might just put you as temporarily closed. And if you do give it the right hours of operation and it's incorrect on GBP, then they're just gonna update that. But this is something that is really important, especially in the era of AI. Everything needs to be accurate and up to date.
Well, you talked about conversion factors, and you alluded to it earlier in this conversation. But with what opportunities there are, they're not going to be totally limited. I mean, there's still going to be opportunities. You really, but people are shopping around. You got to put your salesmanship cap on, when you do get an opportunity, and of course, do what you can digitally. Make sure your photos are updated. Make sure that you're posting frequently about your service or product offerings. But then when you pick that phone up, man, be ready to convert it. We used to have a guy here. You would joke about it, Henry. He bought junk cars, and he could close probably 80-90% of the calls he received, and that matters. That matters all the time. Everything's sales. That's the way I like to look at things. But it especially matters when things are tight and people are shopping around a lot. So make sure you're doing what you can to make the most out of the opportunities that you receive.
Completely. Like what you get from digital marketing and advertising are leads, right? We can drive people to you, but when you get that phone call or the customer walks in the door, you have to do your best to convert them into a customer. We call it nurturing the lead, right? We want to make sure that lead feels like it's being treated well. The customer is always right mindset, and think about adding some sort of offer promos, right? Like 15% off for veterans. We're coming up on July 4th weekend, like we can there's so many things that you can think of that can differentiate your business from the rest and actually make that business convert, right? You don't need them to call the competitor. Just give them an enticing thing. Get that scheduled quote out, and an estimate for $300,000 remodel of a house. That would be the ideal situation, and I've heard it happen on calls that we drive to our customers. So it might seem like in an economic downturn, the best thing for you to do is wait it out and keep your money tight, but that's when people that are savvy really eat up the business.
Awesome. I think we should wrap this up here. I think that's a good note. Well, guys, just remember some of the things we went over. keep bidding on keywords while they're on sale. While leads and clicks are on sale with less people bidding, make sure that you're continuing to invest in that. Make sure your GBP is up to date. Make sure you're getting new recent reviews, which matter more than ever. Consider shifting to LSA if you've been PPC forward and you really need to prioritize getting immediate leads. And if you're going to stay committed to PPC, maybe look into doing some longer tail keywords. They'll be cheaper for you. I think all those things are going to compound. They're going to help you weather the storm, and they're going to actually help you really succeed during this time period.
Totally. And listen to your marketing experts. We're trying to look out for you guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everybody.